Trapped by the belief that I'm not good enough, bound by the limitations and the lies that consumed my world, this was me. It wasn't until I took the biggest leap in my life to know and trust the power within. And it was at that moment I made a choice. My past will not define me anymore. Hello, I am Teri, and I know I am not alone in this. Over the years, I have found that the number one mistake that we make is that we get in the way of our own success story. Yes, I said it. On this show, together we'll tackle limiting beliefs, self sabotage, getting stuck, fear, doubt, overwhelm, and the imposter syndrome. Join us on this journey designed to transport you beyond your limitations to a world where anything is possible. This is Talking with Teri. Hello, and welcome back to Talking with Teri, where we have powerful conversations to transform your life and your business. And today's guest is an exceptional being, and I can't wait for you to listen what he has to share. Bob Burg is a sought-after speaker at company leadership and sales conferences on topics at the core of his Go Giver books, which I have right here, right? I just love your books. Along with your Endless Referrals books, he's also written Adversaries into Allies, along with some other books. His total book sales are well over 1 million copies. Congratulations. That's a huge impact that you're having. The American Management Association named Bob one of the 30 most influential leaders, and he's one of Inc.'s 100 Great Leadership Speakers. Richtopia named him one of the top 200 most influential authors in the world. And you, my friends, get to listen in. Welcome, Bob, to the show.
Hey, thanks, Teri. So great to be with you.
Yeah. So we actually connected and met at an event here in Denver years ago. We actually
Yeah.
know a mutual friend that we were just talking about.
Mhm.
So it's great to have you and have you here just to share some of your wisdom. So I always ask people, just right out of the gate, just give us a short bio or a short, like a 30-second, if you will.
Okay.
Just how did you come to be where you're at today?
Yeah. I began as a broadcaster, was not very good at it, graduated into sales, knew nothing about sales. So I got books and back then tapes and went to seminars and I learned and I applied and did well. And eventually worked my way up to sales manager of another company, started sharing with others what was working for me. Started to see that I could perhaps make a living as a speaker. And as they used to say on Seinfeld, yada, yada, yada. 30 years later, you and I are
Yes.
talking to a whole bunch of nice people.
I love it. So tell us, in your journey of becoming this, hugely influential, recognized brand, incredible speaker, what were some of the challenges or barriers that you had to overcome in that journey? It's a
Well, I
big,
mean,
loaded question, by the
I
way.
think, well, but I mean, I think self-confidence,
Yeah.
can I really do it? What gives me the right to be here doing this? Are people going to listen to me? Am I going to communicate in a way that actually helps, makes a difference? Uh, Again, am I good enough to do this? I mean, all these things,
Yeah.
fears. I mean, our human beings, we have fears.
Yeah.
And I think worthiness I don't know, always for me, it
Yeah.
figures in and we've got to be able to, despite those feelings, move ahead and work through them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I see a lot of some of the individuals I work with are highly achieving, highly motivated women entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
And it's amazing to see. And I have not yet met an individual that has not gone into business and not been, I don't know, what's the word I want to use? They've all been impacted by some sort of, like you were saying, confidence, worthiness, almost like that layer of like imposter syndrome of like,
Right.
am I really contributing? Am I really making a difference? Who am I? Like, right, that those those stories that get in our head, and they can be powerful stories. They can, and
Oh.
a lot of times they hold us back. So what were some of the things that you found helpful in your journey, early on in your career, that supported you to move through that?
Well, I think understanding that I did have a certain skill set, when I first started, it was really speaking about cultivating referral business and being able to cultivate relationships where people would know you, like you, trust you, want to do business with
Hmm.
you, want to refer you to others, which is something I was able to do. So on an intellectual level, I knew I could do it, that I did have a right to be there. It was the emotional part that,
Yeah.
you question yourself, but uh and so I think it was a matter of coming to grips with, yeah, I do know what I'm talking about. Boom, I'm going to go out there and do it and work past the fear.
So really it's about taking action, right? Just I know
It
it's there.
is.
I know it's there. It's calling my name, but I'm making a conscious choice, right? I'm
Yeah.
making a conscious choice to move past that. Just recently I had something that came up for me and
Mhm.
it's one of those things that's like, oh, I really didn't see that one coming. And what it reflected for me is like, okay, I have a conscious choice, right? How I show up, how
Mhm.
I respond, how I react, how I do all of that has an impact, right? And so I made the conscious choice to say, you know what? I'm going to find the gifts in this. I'm going to, see myself, and work through this piece. And again, it's I think comes back to that mindset of, we have a choice. At the end of the
Mhm.
day, we have a choice on how we show up and how we respond
Yep.
to what's going on. And we all have it. And what I want the listeners to hear is that we all suffer or have suffered from this at some
Mhm.
point in our career, or in our entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
So you're spot on right there.
I might worry more about the person who never has experienced it.
Right.
You
Well, I
know,
have
as
not met
far
that
as
person yet.
yeah,
I always
I think you know, I think there are some, but I don't think they realize that they may not come off as effectively as
mm,
they may think they do. You know what I'm saying? In
what
different areas, because
yeah.
because there's really no, it's like, what's that? I'm trying to think of that saying, that the people who think they don't know who think they don't know enough are typically the ones who know a lot, because they're so anxious to make sure they know enough.
Right. They're
Whereas the
con
person who already thinks they know it all probably knows less. They just think that, you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a great point, right? Like you're absolutely right. I find that I've all the folks that I've ever met and come in contact with, they're always on this like personal journey of learning
Mhm.
more, and diving in. And I think that's part of the kind of the curiosity, right? And just how do I continue to grow myself so that I can serve more people? And
Yeah,
how can I be a bigger contribution? And the more I know, the more I can support, right?
yeah, and I want to make sure that I didn't just miscommunicate something. Confidence is a great thing.
Yeah.
Okay, it's having confidence based on having done the work, based on having worked on yourself, based on preparation, based on learning what you didn't know that you thought you knew, right?
Yeah.
The kind of confidence when the person really doesn't know or hasn't worked on, that's arrogance. That's not confidence.
Yeah.
And arrogance can fake their way a little bit through.
Right.
Okay, we've certainly seen that many times in our lives. I mean, that's just part of how things are. But it tends to not be really sustainable.
Great point.
Yeah,
Yes.
whereas confidence is different. That's
And I feel
born
like that
out of.
yeah, and I think that that self-worth and that confidence comes within, right?
Mhm.
That is something that is growing, and there's a developmental I feel like there's a developmental learning curve, if you will, to
Yeah.
that, because I think I don't know about you, but for me, I can speak to is I started out in that ego spot. Like my ego was like, bull, like I got my business cards and I'm like, like I know my stuff, right? And then I realized over time that it was kind of a fake facade, if you will, around confidence. And then it's like, oh, but every time I was challenged with that, it was like, okay, I got to go in. I got to go in. And so I feel like it was over time, create. And
Mhm.
I think I'm still going to continue to work on all of this.
Sure. We all, I would think, it's a work in progress for all of us.
Yeah. So what do you feel like has been I don't know, your actually, you know what, kind of I'm going to say this. Even in the backdrop of where we're at today, right? I know that there's a lot of business owners, a lot of individuals that are faced with fear. I mean, fear, let's be real, like I feel like this pandemic has brought to the forefront this concept of fear, right? On all levels, on all, you know, um, dimensions, if you will. So how have you, I always like to ask this question, like, how have you turned fear into your greatest light?
How have I turned fear into my greatest light? I think it's a wonderful question, and I think to the degree that we can work past our fear, whenever we do turn it into light. Which I don't think, again, I don't think that means denying that fear.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it means acknowledging it and then working within it. How many sayings have we heard along that line? Mark Twain is credited with saying that courage is not the absence of fear but the mastery of it.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
dad always said, who is a brave person, and then said that person who's smart enough to be afraid and still do their job. And
Yeah.
so I think anytime that we have fear and that we work through it, I think by the very nature of the thing, that turns it into light.
Yeah. That's
By
beautifully
the way, was that your
stated.
puppy in the background?
It is. I'll let
Oh,
him
great.
come on camera
Oh,
and say
hi.
hello.
Oh,
So
hi, buddy.
I will say,
Oh,
he's a miniature Dachshund, and I will
hi.
say, I thought we had
Oh,
worked out
oh,
a little
excuse me. Oh,
communication thing.
hi,
I know,
baby. Say hi to
I
Uncle
know.
Bob.
Hi, Uncle Bob.
Hi,
I thought we'd
buddy.
worked out this really clear communication with him that he was going to stay down in front of the little treat that I got him in front of the fireplace, but he, he
That's
made
not his
himself
job. His
welcome to our conversation. He's all about the 15-minute fame.
That's as he should be.
Um, and so how have you been dealing with um, all that? Because I think that a lot of times this has been true for a lot of people, is showing how we have a lot of people are talking about pivoting their businesses and really changing and shifting the way in which they've done business,
Mhm.
kind of on the backdrop of what we're experiencing in this day and time in our life. So how have you um, been doing this?
Well, I've been luckier than most in the sense that, at 62 and a half years of age, what have you, I have really over the last few years made a concerted effort to get off the road more anyway.
Yeah.
So I've been doing less and less outside of Florida, to get on a plane. I never really liked traveling. That was never the fun part of my job.
Hmm.
I have just felt blessed for the last 30 years to be doing what I do, but the
Yeah.
traveling part was never something I enjoyed. I enjoyed everything else, just not the
Yeah.
travel. So I'd been doing that anyway. So when the pandemic hit and things were getting closed down, many of my colleagues, I mean, it had a whole year's worth of income just boom,
Yeah.
wiped out. I really didn't. So so what I have done is I've now decided, and I did make the decision that even after this thing is over, I'm still not going to travel anymore. I've just I had been cutting it down to 20 times a year. Now it's 0 a year. I'm not getting
Yeah.
on a plane. I am going to do, and I have been already doing some keynote talks at conferences virtually, and I'll still do those from now on, even if after this ends, if they're doing that, which I think they will start having more of those. But
Yeah.
so in this case, it really wasn't something where I got, hit as badly as, and I feel so badly for not only the other speakers, but everyone who's had the
Especially,
stress of having to
yeah.
go through this horrible situation.
Yeah. And I would agree with you. I own two companies. And so one of them, we just did it with 72 hours. We made a quick pivot and went virtual. And the other company has always been virtual. So it
Mhm.
really wasn't, like you said, I wasn't impacted by it as much. But my heart just goes out.
Oh,
This weekend, I just found out that this company, a brick and mortar company that just I love in our town and has been here for, I feel like ever, just closed its doors. And
oh,
it's so heartbreaking,
it is frustrating.
and I have to be in a place of saying that, there's some greater good that's coming out
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah, I
so
mean, it's one of these things where, again, that's, part of, I guess, part of of faith, whether religious or not, it doesn't matter. But just having
Yeah.
faith that eventually, yes, we'll recognize the purpose and what the thing. But at the time, it stinks,
It
And I
stinks.
mean,
It's terrible. Yeah.
and I I say to people, don't do the, oh, this is good, because we'll find out later if and why it was good. Right now
Yeah.
we need to, and my suggestion is this: we control what we can control, and we try as best as possible to not be attached to that which we can't control. Easier said than done, of course, and it's
Right.
something we always have to continue to work on. But yeah, I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. I've been having a lot of conversations of just like releasing the outcomes because I think sometimes right now, I don't know if you've experienced this, but I have a lot of people that's saying, okay, after the election, and like I think there's gonna be like some like rainbows or magic unicorns or something that comes down and like
Right.
takes away this, or New Year's Eve, right? And so I feel like we have kind of these like false summits that we're setting ourselves up for,
Right.
and if we can as much as possible, bless and release, right,
Mhm.
and really detach from the outcome. And
Exactly.
I think this is like the beautiful lesson that's being learned in all of this is, detach from that outcome. And because we don't know,
Right.
and we are, I think a lot of us are growing, on a spiritual level. I
Mhm.
always kind of incorporate spirituality into some of the conversations that I have, but, just having that, going deeper within
Right.
and having those, conversations with ourselves and how do we increase our faith and just believe and trust that this
Mhm.
is going to have a positive
Right.
outcome,
You know,
you know?
one book I would suggest for people that they get, and it's made a big difference in my life and in many others. It's by Michael Singer, called The Untethered Soul.
Mm,
Also,
yes.
he has another one called The Surrender Experiment. Surrender not meaning giving up; it
Yeah.
means losing attachment to outcomes,
Letting
basically.
go. Yeah.
Those two books, and you can get the audio and the books. I have both. Um, are just beautiful for anyone to get to dive into, to read, to listen to. And I'll tell you, if you're going through difficult times in this pandemic, emotionally as well as other ways, I can't stress enough, those two books and or audios would be just fantastic to listen to.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the recommendation.
And
So check those
there's by
books
the
out.
way,
And
there's no one who I've recommended these to who've read or listened to them that didn't come back later and just thank me to
have,
all for recognize
yes, and have some
recommending.
epiphanies through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great suggestions. So what's next for you? What is on your plate? What are you celebrating? What are you what's next for you?
Well, my business partner, the brilliant Kathy Tajanel, she and I have a couple of different things that we do. One is we have a certified go-giver speaker program in which people license the information that I've developed over 30 years and so forth. And we teach them how to be professional speakers and so forth. So we've been growing that over the last few years and are continuing to, and we have a lot of fun with that. I have a new online course, relatively new. It's been out for a little while, called Endless Referrals: The Go Giver Way.
Oh, I love
So
it.
yeah, so we're doing all those things, and that's really as I and I'll continue to speak, but they'll be virtual. Uh, and yeah, we just we have fun with it.
Yeah, that's great. I love it. So what would you any other like nuggets or tips for our listeners that are in their business and maybe they're at various levels of their business, from getting started, and a lot of businesses have been,
Mhm.
started during the pandemic, from
Sure.
people that have, made the pivot, if you will, and transformed their business in some sort. Any words of wisdom?
You know, I always go back to something I learned about, gosh, probably close to 40 years ago, after I'd been in sales for a couple of years, and I'd been doing fairly well, but I was with I had just started with another company, and it was a high ticket item, and I was really in a slump, and I was panicking, and the more I panicked, the more I focused on myself, which is the exact opposite, right, of what we should be.
Right.
And I
Mm.
remember there was I came back to the office one day after not having the sale happen, and I must have had a disgusted look on my face and disgusted at myself. And I remember there was a much older guy at the office who he was not in the sales department. I think he was in the engineering department or something. And he soon retired. I didn't know him very well, but he was a one of these guys. He didn't say much, but whenever he did, it was pretty much always profound. You know, those
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
And I remember he said to me, Burg, he was a last name kind of guy. He said, Burg, can I give you some advice? Because I think he saw me sort of as Joe, right? Who I would write about with John David Mann
Right.
years
Yeah.
later in The Go Giver,
I
right?
love
That
it.
kind
Yeah.
of upcoming, ambitious, aggressive, good guy, but whose focus was really not in the right place, right?
Yeah.
And he said, can I give you some advice? I said, yeah, please do. I need it. And he said, if you want to make a lot of money in sales, he said, don't have making money as your target. Your target is serving others.
Yeah.
Now, when you hit the target, he said, you'll get a reward. And that
Right.
reward will come in the form of money. And you can do
Yeah.
with that money whatever you choose. But never forget, he said, the money is simply the reward for hitting the target. It ain't the target itself. Your target is serving others.
Yeah.
And that's when it really hit me that great salesmanship is never about the salesperson. Great
Yeah.
salesmanship is never about the product or service, as important as those are.
Yeah.
Great salesmanship is about the other person. It's about those people whose lives you choose to touch. It's about those people whose lives become better just as a result of you being part of it. And I think that when we switch our focus, we move our focus off
Yeah.
of ourselves from that I focus or me focus onto that other focus, looking for
Yeah.
ways to bring value to their lives. Now we're heading in the right direction and we're creating that benevolent context for
Yeah.
success.
Yeah. And just like the concept that you talk about in your book, and if you have not read his books, either The Go Giver, which is, I feel like it is a must have for any business entrepreneur. But the Go Giver sells more, also an epic read as well. But you're talking about, yeah, I think it's a brilliant concept of, you know, that money will come. That's the law of reciprocity, right? Coming when you're here to add value, be of service to other people. And it becomes, I feel like sales becomes with ease, sales
Yeah.
with ease, right?
Yeah. And, we need to make sure we're receptive, that we tap into that law of receptivity that says the key to effective giving is to stay open to
Yeah.
receiving, which means really nothing more than, yeah, you breathe out, but you also have to breathe in. Right? We
Yes.
breathe out carbon dioxide, we breathe in oxygen, we breathe out, which is giving,
Yes.
and we breathe in, which is
She's
receiving. It's
me.
two
Yes.
sides of the very same coin.
And I think there's a lot of women, especially, I don't know, I'm going to say women because I feel like there's a lot of women out there that we are such great givers, give, 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 give. And I literally was speaking on stage last Saturday and I was talking about this, being open to receive because when we do, and it's the little things from receiving, right? If someone treats us to a cup of Joe, right?
Exactly.
Is it's instead of saying, "Oh, no, thank you. I got this." It's
Right.
just saying yes
Thank you. Yeah.
and saying yes to more, even though, and that I feel like it just works that muscle, right? And the
It
more
does.
we can
That's
work the
exactly.
muscle, and
Exactly.
then when we have the bigger opportunities that come towards us, we can actually see them, right? Versus because I think sometimes they're out of our like conscious awareness because
Right.
we haven't even taught ourselves, that muscle to say, yes, that's great.
When
Right?
someone pays you a compliment, do you say, "Oh, no, no, no," or do you say, "Oh, thank you so much"?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
because remember, you've got
That
to.
basic. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love what you said about it being a muscle, right? We call it the
Yeah.
receptivity muscle. And you've got to be able to accept a check for $250 before you can accept a check for $25,000.
Yes.
It
Yes.
also means when you really walk in your value, you don't undercharge, you don't
Yes.
underprice, you don't allow yourself to be negotiated down. Of course, you are able to present. You learn how to present your product or service, the benefits and the connecting with what they need, want, and desire in a way that you're able to build that value. but it
Yeah.
also means that you understand your value. You walk in your value
Mhm.
and you charge accordingly because you're not selling on price. You're
Right.
selling on value.
Mhm.
And
And I
that's
think
key.
that, yeah, I think that comes with that development of that confidence too, right?
Exactly. It
It's
sure
kind of like
does.
a parallel process where my confidence in what I have to offer is
Mhm.
also meeting, the value that I bring
Of
and
course.
recognizing that.
Absolutely. That's a wonderful point. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So this has been delightful. Thank you so much. If you have not reached out and grabbed his stuff, it is gold. Like it is
Thank
just
you.
yummy.
Thank
So
you.
we will put that information into the show notes to grab a copy of his books, some links. So share with the audience real quick just how they can get more of your goodness here.
Thank you. You're very kind. Really, the best place to go is Burg, BURG.com. There's everything there about books and other resources and where you can connect with me on social media, and everything's there. Burg, BURG.com.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for hopping on this call today with us, and thank you for what massive contributions you've been to the world.
Thank
Thank you. It's
you.
it's an honor to know you and get to know you better here. So thank you so much.
The honor's mine. Thank you.
I am so grateful that you joined me for this episode. If you've enjoyed this, then there's just one thing that I would like you to do. Click to subscribe and leave me a rating and review. As my way to thank you, let's connect for a free consultation. Just reach out to me at talkingwithteri, that's TERI.com, to book your time.